Hey guys, this is Caspi with Tape, and today you join me for episode 28 of Fall of Kerbin. And in the last turn, Penguin managed to take over half of our city, our glorious capital city. It has been infested with the evil communists, the evil Kruolans. So, we're launching our counterattack now to try and force them out. They managed to batter their way through our tank destroyers. And, well, yes, now we have to send in our tanks to go and clean them out. So we've launched some Cerberuses and some light M3 Minotaurs. We've got 5 medium tanks, 3 of them deployed right now in a column, and 2 of these M3 Minotaurs, which are old light tanks, which make fantastic scouts because they're extremely cheap. So I'm just sending this ahead of the column now to scout out the streets and hopefully find something and hopefully not get destroyed. But if it is, it's not too much of a problem because it's pretty cheap. Anyway, when we round this corner, we get a surprising sight. This was pretty much one of the first corners I checked, and there is a super heavy tank. That is the Anaconda, the Maus, with a 128mm gun. Now, after just looking at that, you can see that its flank is exposed, and it is on a street where I might be able to exploit that. So one of my options is to go head on, maybe bring in one of my big tank destroyers, try and take it down, but I think that's a really bad idea. So I'm sending up just one of my C3 Cerberuses to go down this street behind my light tank and try and flank this Anaconda. If it's not guarded by anything, I could shoot it in the side. So we come round this corner, and you can see here that I can sneak right up to it down this street as long as nothing shoots me from the street on my right, which it doesn't. And then I can hopefully zip around into the kind of park it's in and put a round in its side where its armor is thin enough for this 76mm gun to get through. So I rush as fast as I can, trying not to get shot by that massive gun, swing around, kind of crash into a building, pull out my 76, using it myself because it wasn't doing it itself for some reason, and it's now a race to get my gun towards it before it can get a gun towards me. I put a round in the side, and mercifully, the gun turns back, and the tank is dead. Yes! The first tank we encounter, maybe the deadliest tank, and we managed to take it out with no losses and with 1 tank. Just to make sure, I put some rounds through the thinner bits of the armor, just to put some serious damage to it and definitely clean out the crew. And yes, the tank is dead. Now, when I was bringing up my light tank, I noticed that my one of my Cerberuses was starting to turn its gun. It accidentally rolled into the park, and has kind of by chance snuck up on an emplacement. Yes, there's a 76mm emplacement here, and I just put a round into it, and it is dead. Yeah, that was totally by chance. That totally would have got the drop on me if I hadn't let this tank roll. Anyway, I bring up the other 2 tanks to form up the column so that if we encounter anything else, we can get a lot of force down there if we need to. And here they are, just waiting in the street behind where we just were. But now again, it's time to send up the light tank as a scout to go and find other things. I'm liking this strategy. It means the enemy tanks don't get such a drop on me, really. It seems to work quite well. So yes, we're going around another corner now, just down the street a little bit from that emplacement. And to the right, we encounter another emplacement. I back up as fast as I can, and it doesn't even get a shot away at me. This is a pretty fast and reactive tank. It's very good at its job. Anyway, but to kill this, we bring up our column of tanks. I'm thinking just send 2 in first, because there's not really a ton of space on this street. So we send just 2 in to try and kind of get in there and put enough rounds into that emplacement that it's destroyed before it can do any damage. It gets the first shot away, but it, well, mercifully misses. We break, kind of really hugging each other now, and start opening fire. I decide I will bring the light tank up because it's only an emplacement. It could probably, this 20mm could probably do some damage on this light tank. So now we have 3 tanks just lighting it up and hopefully destroying it before it gets any accurate shots. It doesn't seem to have hit me, or at least, well, at least not accurately or deadlily. So yes, anyway, we put enough rounds into it, and there it goes. The gun is destroyed, and it pops. So yeah, going pretty well so far. We've taken down 2 emplacements and a super heavy tank. That was pretty lucky, actually. They're really... But I reckon maybe Penguin probably should have put like a smaller tank next to it just to guard it, but it's always hard to predict in these kind of city combat scenarios. Anyway, after forming up the tank column again, I send the light tank forward again to scout, and we actually get another emplacement in the side. So we catch it totally off guard and just put a few rounds into it. That's the last of the emplacements. Penguin deployed 3, and that's 3 out. Now there's just medium tanks and cruiser tanks, which are Penguins in the knee is somewhere between medium and light tanks. They're pretty brutal, actually. But yes, we've actually cleared the first half of the city now. I did a quick sweep with my light tank, and it seems it's entirely cleared. It seemed there was just those emplacements and the super heavy up front. I don't know why that super heavy was alone. Just something on the side may have, I don't know. I mean, Penguin probably wasn't expecting me to zip round the side and shoot it. But yeah. Anyway, so now it's time to move to the second half of the city and try and clear the communists out for good. So yes, here's the street that connects these two parts of the city that we'll have to terrifyingly move down. So of course we bring up all of the tanks, just our standard strategy. I've really strategized this. Send the light tank, find something, bring up the column. It seems to work pretty well. So yes, this will be the first tank to go down the street. Checking all of the sides. There are so many streets that the tanks could be hiding down. And this, here we are just moving down this part. There doesn't seem to be anything down either of these streets, which is nice. It's always just a little terrifying in these cities. It's very claustrophobic. Anyway, we've cleared the entry to this section of the city, so we'll bring up the column of tanks and then send the light tank forward again here. Just moving down, checking streets. Nothing to my left, it seems. Nothing to my right, it seems. Maybe I'll keep going down this street. But when I get here, my gun starts turning, and there was indeed something to my left, tucked way down at the bottom of two streets down there. It's firing at me, and at first I for some reason thought it was an adder, but what it actually turned out to be was a Kerthenia. It's firing pretty quickly, and that 56mm gun can pretty much just tear apart one of these light tanks, and in my panic I rush forward to try and get into one of these side streets. I don't exactly know why I did this. I think I was just panicking, but I take enough rounds and the light tank is dead. Our first loss, but we're having none of this. We're going to send up two medium tanks now with their 76mm guns. The first shot actually hits the gun of the other tank, which isn't great. Yeah, now I thought this was a adder while I was doing it, one of the medium tanks with the 75mm gun, but you can see by the rate of fire that it's actually, and how ineffective the rounds are, that it's actually a Kerthenia, but it does do a lot of damage. I try and turn Burnt Together off so I can start turning these tanks a little bit, but by that point the Kerthenia is dead. We've put enough rounds into it all the way down the street that it's totally dead. But this first tank on my left is just, it's just really seriously damaged. Luckily still just about alive, but pretty much a write-off. I might be able to repair it because it still has its wheels and its crew and things, and I might use it next turn, but for now that is down and out. It is missing a huge amount of armor. There is no way that would be safe. Anyway, so I launch another tank because I have 5. We've lost 1. We've brought 1 out of reserve, so we've got my column of 3, and we launch, well, we bring up our second light tank. This is the last of the light tanks. It is, of course, another scout, and it's going to carry on as if nothing had just happened, losing that tank. So now we're down a light tank and a seriously damaged, maybe dead medium tank. But this is heading forward, checking down the streets, making sure everything is clear. But then just here, there's an Kerthenia waiting. I do actually get some shots away, but I think they mostly just hit the gun, because it doesn't really do any damage. There's a small explosion, but I don't know exactly what happened. This gun is pretty anemic. It's basically a last resort, isn't particularly good for battle. So we bring up the whole column, all 3 medium tanks to deal with this, because we're not going to get damaged. We get pretty much 3 consecutive shots before it even fires its gun, and when the smoke clears, there is pretty much nothing left. It's just gone. Like, there's just like a bit of debris and some ammo. But yes, that was a very successful mission, much better than the first Kerthenia we encountered. But there is no time to revel in victory. We have more tanks to hunt, so we head towards the first destroyed Kerthenia down the street. And as I make a right, I get a glimpse at a sight I really did not want to see. That is an adder, a super high velocity 75mm gun, just eviscerates this light tank, split in 2, and its gun can't go low enough to actually put any fire onto that adder. So this is just sitting here waiting to die, which is somewhat depressing, and it does. So we need to quit our grin, drop our linens, and bring up our tanks. So we send in 2 of these medium tanks to try and put down some fire, because, well, we can only really fit 2 in the street, and they start opening up. Rounds are coming in. I decide to bring in the 3rd, but by the time this one gets here, it is all over, and the enemy tank is destroyed. So we bring this up to kind of just see the destruction. But both of my tanks there are seriously damaged. And this one in the middle actually does a little friendly fire. It puts its gun right up against me and puts a round through my armor. my only not damaged tank now has a bloody hole in it. So yes, annoyingly, both of these tanks did survive, but had both of their armor so damaged that their wheels came off. They're totally immobile, and I'm just going to have to write them off. So for the cost of 2 medium tanks, I'm going to actually take out 1. I do think those adders probably are more deadly than these Cerberuses. But, well, it is dead, and it did get the drop on us a bit, but for the cost of 3 tanks. So, we're going to deploy our final medium tank, and now we just have 2 medium tanks left to move in and try and finish off what we can. So I send one around this corner, and instantly there's a Nernia on me, and another one just to the left. And actually at the end of this street there's another adder, so now this just gets pounded by just a ridiculous amount of fire, 2 Nernias and an adder, and just gets absolutely destroyed before it can even take out the first Nernia. It puts up a brave fight, but it is soon dead. So I rush with the last remaining tank. I stop before I encounter anything else and manually put some fire to this Nernia because I need it to be dead. And then I'm going to go around the corner. Now at this point I thought it was just 2 Nernias, so I was going to rush around the corner and just take out the other Nernia. Everything would be okay, but I was not expecting what I would see when I rounded the corner, seeing another adder. You can actually see its rounds clipping through a building, they're so fast. But anyway, so I flick guard mode back on, and now it is time to go and meet my maker. We run round the corner, put a shot onto the Nernia, but before I can put a second one in there, a high velocity 75 just eviscerates the tank. It just splits it right through the medium armor, and it is just destroyed. Those adders are ridiculously deadly. I think they might actually be superior to the Cerberuses. These are the first time they've actually clashed, and yeah, they're pretty good. But anyway, we have done some damage. We've taken out most of Penguin's tanks. We've destroyed a super heavy, 3 emplacements, 3 Nernias, and a medium, leaving Penguin with just 1 medium tank and 2 Nernias to bolster his forces next time. And we're deploying ourselves some of our own defenses. We've now taken back at least 1/4 of the city, but we didn't push them out of the rest, so we're now defending that quarter of the city. We're deploying 4 of these emplacements because I had AA emplacements before, but basically they're not balanced for tanks, so basically Penguin and I agreed that I would replace them with these emplacements. These aren't super effective, but it's nice to have a few 75mm guns, I believe these are, just sitting around, totally unarmored, but if they get the drop on something, they could probably do some serious damage, especially if it's a light tank like one of those Nernias. So yeah, these are scattered around, defending the quarter of the city we took back. And yeah, we've also actually redeployed these TD2 Cyclopses. Now in Penguin's turn, when he found them, they were pretty much facing exactly the wrong way. Now that's just because for some reason these tanks especially started just sort of rotating by themselves, some weird kind of glitch, which means that, well, by the time they were found, one of them was 90 degrees off and was just eviscerated. And Penguin and I agreed that that wasn't really fair, so so I've deployed them again. There's 2 of these waiting around, and these will of course be supported by the 4 TD3 Sirens, these 88mm tank destroyers, which I've deployed around the city this turn. I've also deployed another light tank as part of my counter-offensive next turn, because, well, I'm not sure how far Penguin will get, but he may well take back the second half of the city. The bit I took back today. It's hard to say. This could to and fro for a while. But anyway, this is the end of the episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're not too disappointed I didn't get the Kruolans totally out of my city, if only out of a quarter of it. And hopefully we'll be able to hold off the Kruolans next time. But yes, this has been episode 28 of Fall of Kerbin. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I will see you next time.